Relationship across difference. Narrative number 2. World traveling requires relationship across difference, open-heartedness with empathy, and open-mindedness to new ways of knowing, being, doing, and valuing. In narrative number 2, I discuss the first of these criteria, relationship across difference. When Lugonis writes about world traveling, she is referring to the different quote-unquote worlds in which people live lives. These worlds are made up of our experiences, our relationships, our physical location, and all the ways of knowing, being, doing, and relating that shape who we are and who we are becoming. However, world traveling is not the same for everyone. For white settler Canadians like myself, it is a privilege and an opportunity to learn and grow about someone outside of our own world. It is a chance to see another as they truly are, when they truly are themselves. For a self-identified woman of color like Lugonis, world traveling is most often a necessity, part of what it means to skillfully and creatively navigate the mainstream dominant world, which is often a hostile world towards outsiders. This skillful, creative work of outsiders is undervalued and invisible. But Lugonis argues that world traveling is an act of cross-cultural and cross-racial loving. She invites us to value this work and to reframe it through loving perception. For someone in a position of privilege and power, traveling to another person's world, this notion of loving is essential. As a white settler Canadian, when I am invited to travel into an Indigenous world, I must suspend the expectations and norms from the dominant settler colonial world and cross the threshold into a different world entirely. I must set aside the arrogance of Eurocentric knowledge systems that assumes just because I know my own epistemologies and ontologies that I must also be able to understand another's ways. Rather than such an arrogant perception, Lugonis writes about loving perception, in which love is understood not as fusion and erasure of difference, but as incompatible with them. Love reveals plurality. Lugonis's concept of playful world traveling urges me to cross the threshold into another's world in the spirit of delight and relational playfulness. This concept brings me back to childhood and playtime when we would make believe. To make believe meant to make up stories and act them out as we went along. A collaborative and generative process in which we did not know the ending until we got there. These make-believe times were always relational activities in which we, children, would spontaneously co-create playful experiences and imagined worlds. As a settler Canadian academic seeking to learn about Indigenous ways in order to decolonize my curricular practices, I heed Lugonis's advice to engage in this world traveling with childlike playfulness, to release my need for controlling the outcome, and to put the co-creative relational process at the center. This is a relationship across difference.